Hi, my name is Sam Johnson and I am a voice teacher. Today I will be reacting to and analyzing Flavor Flav performing the American National Anthem at the Milwaukee Bucks game. If you are interested in signing up for voice lessons, please consider going to vocalese.net and choosing me to be your voice teacher. Please.
Oh, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Okay, I do love to hear the vibrato. I think that's a pretty nice sounding vibrato. He's had an interesting choice of key so far, and the false start. Oh gosh, this song stresses me out. This song is so stressful. Like I have nightmares about this song because it's a really hard song to sing. I think it's not like in the right key for pretty much anyone, and the pressure, the stakes are like usually generally fairly high. And one time I forgot the lyrics while I was singing it at a AAA baseball game, and they laughed at me. This song is a nightmare. It's also one of the songs that most singers need to know if you are like singing in the United States, because there is a chance that you will have to sing it if you choose to, sing this song at a place, which is a thing that some people choose to do. So you need to know how to sing the song. Flavor Flav started twice. I think it's really important to practice, like if you mess up at the beginning of a thing, to just keep going or like make it work somehow. And I feel like that didn't happen here. I would highly suggest, if you are getting ready for this, to maybe mess up on purpose at the beginning and just keep going, just so that you can practice continuing with things.
What so proudly we hail.
Yeah, the sustains at the end are usually a little bit better technique. When he went up to the proudly, it's a little bit pressed, and I mean his larynx is rising just a little bit, so we get just a tighter sound. I would suggest maybe getting a little bit more airflow with this, so practicing it almost breathy. What's so proud? Just to find different things that you're capable of, and then maybe we can end up adding a little bit of lifty feeling to it, raising the soft palate, lowering the larynx. What's so proud? And those kind of things I think will make it sound tonally just a little bit better. I do like what he does at the end though, and that gives me a little bit more hope that we could get that high note in a slightly spinnier place.
At the twilight's last gleaming.
Okay, the Twilights. That's another thing that I think when you're singing pop music is like an essential thing to be aware of, because it's a lot more common in pop music to emphasize the second vowel in a diphthong. Twilights. But if you're kind of slowly chewing between the vowels, for this, I don't think it works as well. Twilights might be a little bit more traditionally aesthetically pleasing. And it's interesting because he's mixing up elements of like a traditional kind of classically inspired sound. I don't think that this is like my favorite version of the national anthem that I've heard, but I also am not like a big fan of this song. I don't just like throw it on. But I do listen to it a lot because I watch a lot of basketball games on the NBA app, and they show me this song a lot. And so I feel like I've listened to it a lot. This is not my favorite version of it.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars.
Cool little ornamentation. Yeah, with those, whose broad stripes. I would practice just getting directly onto those pitches because it's obvious that he's able to tune to it. It's just taking him a second. That, I guess, if we didn't hear enough of the other things musically that were just not working like quite as well, I would throw him a little bit more benefit of the doubt on that he's doing it as a stylistic thing. Because if you were doing like a whose broad stripes, you could kind of get away with starting a little off and scooping into things. Again, I just don't think it's like the thing that you should aim for most of the time, especially with this song.
Through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watch.
I didn't hate the way he did Ramparts, the vowel on that. It actually tends to get a lot shoutier than I think he did there. He said for the Ramparts. The lyrics are hard on this one. Like, yeah, we would want to just like go over those lyrics every night when you're falling asleep for years out of like an anxiety response for sure. Like, we definitely want to do that instead of messing up the lyrics, because that's a really worthwhile trade-off to feel like you can sing this song at a moment's notice.
We're so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare.
I don't hate that approach. Rocket's red glare. More of that Now we're up at the F sharp. That's a hard note. I mean, just the note in general is kind of difficult for a lot of guys to sing. It's one of the notes that took me a really long time to figure out how to do in a better way, because I always wanted to like open it up to make it feel more like chest voice or whatever. And so that would be like, oh, the rocket's red glare, which I think is a much more common approach for an untrained singer to take. So while we hear a lot of elements in Mr. Flav's version that do sound like fairly untrained, I listen to this and I'm like, okay, yeah, but there's like a chance if we just focus in on these few things that he's doing really, really well and encourage more of those habits to happen in the rest of his voice, while recognizing like, okay, here are the parts where you're tending to be just a little bit pitchy and, focusing in on those until they're not as pitchy. I think that would help. The biggest thing I'm hearing though, like I would give him just a really good warm-up tape, because there's these moments that are really good, but it doesn't sound like very consistent all the way through. And especially all of these sustained notes, like they just have not my favorite tone. I don't think the tone is helping him very much. And I think because the tone is so tight and just kind of stagnant, it's boring and it sounds like flat to a lot of ears. But the pitch, yes, his pitch has been a little bit all over the place. I think he's settling in now, but I think that the pitch is not honestly the biggest thing I'd focus on when warming him up. I'm going to just believe that he has a good enough ear for pitch because he's had these moments that are really good. And I'm going to choose to believe that he just doesn't know how to coordinate everything so that those pitches can happen according to what's going on in his head in an accurate way. And that a lot of that is because of his weird vowels, his weird tonal quality. But yeah, red glare, I think, is a really, really good approach to that top note.
The bomb burst, staying in there.
Less my favorite. Like the end of air, you could hear it kind of release into something else that I kind of preferred, but the rest of it was quite pressed. Also, yeah, breathing in between burr and sting, generally not like recommended, I guess, if you're preparing this song. My rule in general for breathing is see where, if you were just speaking the line, where you would naturally take breaths, or where maybe there are commas or periods in the written text, and use those places. But I don't go like generally. I mean, I often am just speaking these words to my friends. It's a big habit and hobby of mine to just recite the Star Spangled Banner And when I get to this part, I'm like, the bombs burr, sting in air. And so I guess, maybe if he's like me, that's a really natural place to breathe. But I think that it could also speak to him just having poor breath management, and maybe developing awareness over his breathing would be a smarter thing. I mean, I breathed right after I said or, so people breathe in weird places sometimes.
Gave proof to the night.
Yeah, and like you can hear he's got this image of what it's supposed to be. I just really don't think he knows how to coordinate to get to it.
That our flag was still there.
I would love a Damian Lillard Flavor Flav duet. Please. I wonder what's going on in Damian's head as he's listening to this.
Oh, say does that star spangled banner yet wave?
Yeah, you hear the vibrato usually at the very end. I guess maybe that's another sign that, like, at the end, his kind of pop sensibilities are to pull off of the note, to not be quite as pressed. And I think that as a result, that's where some vibrato usually comes in, which means, like, maybe if we were trying to make this sound more traditionally good or to fit the aesthetics I think that a lot of people have for music and for this song, that I would maybe ask him to sing the whole thing at the volume that he's getting the end phrases at, and see what's different about that. I don't completely believe what I'm about to say, but I'm going to throw him the benefit of the doubt and say, like, he's doing pop art, he's doing avant-garde stuff, and he's just like having a good time, and he thinks it's like, and this whole thing is art, and at like a really, really high level, because it's hard to do what he's doing.
Or the land of the free.
He made it to the F sharp. I kind of like what he was doing with his mouth there. Like, let's look at that again.
The land of the free.
So he's getting a little bit of a smile in. Really nice veneers there. I don't generally recommend the smile for an E vowel, especially when you're up on a bridge note like this, but I think he's having a good time, and I think that matters. What I do really like that I think we can imitate is how he drops his jaw on that, because a lot of times when people say free, they go like free, and you can see with him, we're starting E, and then he smiles into it. Free, which if we take it up the octave, free, versus if I do kind of how a lot of people do it, free, it'll start sounding just a little tight, and it does not sound like that. So yet again, I think that his best habits are actually happening in the part of his voice that most guys struggle with the most, where like it's his spoken range and everything that's a little bit more disastrous.
And the home of the brave, of the brave, of the brave.
Yeah, I would have loved to be in that room, like so much. I would have loved to be in that room. I would have been kind of obsessed if I wasn't in this mode, which is like pretending that the person in front of me is coming to me earnestly for voice lessons, wanting to find out different ways to use their voice. I don't know if Flavor Flav has any desire to be a better singer than what he did right here. And I think that it's reasonable that he's just like having a blast and thinks that he killed it. And like at some level, maybe that's what it takes to be a really good star, even if you don't like do things that are generally fitting the aesthetic that people prefer from a thing. So there's like that part of me that's like, okay, yeah, I really like camp and this is really campy and silly, but the other part of me, like, there are big sections of what he's doing that are not bad vocal technique moments. And so if he was coming to me earnestly, I do think we'd be able to build off of those moments. I think we would probably want to just work on line by line. Yes, I would give him just a really good warm up, and I think that the warm up's the best thing that he could do every day. But a lot of people only need to sing one song, like they need one song for karaoke, or they need to be able to sing this song because like they're the only people who would sing it for whatever reason, and or because like it's their only performance that they've ever done, and they need to be really good at a thing, and they might come in and be about as messy as what he's doing. And usually when I work with people in that kind of situation, it's like, yes, we have to really prepare you for this performance. While a warm-up I think is good, it's not gonna fix everything overnight usually. But what we could do to kind of fix it closer to overnight is just sing the same line over and over and over again, playing with like, okay, what would happen if you add a little bit of lift here, or what would happen if we get a little bit more airflow here, or maybe use a vocal exercise on the melody. So if we're doing, oh, say, can you see? And someone's really, really pressed, but like generally I still hear that they're on pitch and stuff. I'd be like, okay, then let's try it with maybe a foo. Foo, 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 foo. And that darker ooh will do the lifting of the soft palate for me. It will encourage a little bit more airflow by having the F. It would just kind of let you know this is what this could feel like. And then we just ask for the words instead. And maybe he's like, you see, and then I'd be like, okay, but you didn't do that when you went to the really high note at the end. Can we get the same sort of see where you're dropping your jaw in this other part of your range? And then just repeat those lines like 50 times for every single phrase. I think in an hour or two, we'd be able to get it so that there aren't really any super bad notes, but only because he is like a good musician. He's been around music a lot. He just doesn't use his voice in the way that I think people expect singers to use their voice. But anyway, that was really fun. I love doing videos on things like this because like, one, it's fun. I hope people don't just like come in and pile on people about like they're just terrible singers, because like maybe I think that it's fun. I would be really happy to work with Flavor Flav as a voice student, because I do hear a lot of things that are promising, and because I think that he approaches things with a really joyous attitude that is required to get good at a thing like singing. Where I think a lot of people might sing the way that he just did, and they would be so closed down and disappointed in themselves because they're comparing themselves to these traditional aesthetics, and they wouldn't be able to just like have fun as they're doing it. And that's the kind of stuff that's a lot harder to work through in a voice lesson, where this kind of stuff, it's like, okay, we're tuning a piano. Like your vowels, yeah, you've got really, really strong habits, and so it might take a little bit to really replace some of these vowel sounds, but I think that if you are actually earnest about trying to do it, that you would be able to, and if you're going to be able to keep this fun that you're having while you're doing it, then you might actually have a chance to. So let's look at this and be like, what are the things that I can imitate, that I can take from Flavor Flav, rather than like, oh man, he got a lot wrong. Wow, what an idiot. It's so funny that he's out there singing in front of Damian Lillard, who's probably still gonna go like be his friend after if they act, people just be nicer to each other, let yourself have fun, I guess. But yeah, it wasn't like on pitch. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Go to my website, vocalease.net, and sign up for a voice lesson, especially if your name is Flavor Flav. I would love to see ya, bud. Thank you.